Hi, Ellen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here.
Really excited to have you and to hear about your near-death experience. And a lot of my audience is very interested in these kinds of experiences, near death, out of body, just exploring consciousness and exploring like the spirit and who we really are as human beings. So I'd love to hear about your near-death experience that you had of when you were 12, getting hit by a horse. And um, so if you could just walk us through a little bit of like right before and then like kind of what led up to that experience.
Well, what led up to it, I was taking horseback riding lessons, and the cinch, which is the part of the saddle that keeps the saddle tight, was not tight enough because the horse had swollen its belly. It didn't want to be uncomfortable, and it wasn't tightened enough, and so it slipped, which led to the horse kicking me in the head. And I was taken to a local hospital in Hillsboro, Texas, and then um, was in a coma. And so they transferred me to a hospital in Waco, Texas, so I could have better care. That's kind
Mm.
of what led up to it all.
Wow. And so, what did you experience when you were in the hospital?
Yeah. So I was in a coma in the ICU, and the neurological team had invited my parents to play things at the bedside that might stimulate my mind because I was pretty deeply in the coma. And they decided to start playing home movies and Disney movies and like childhood stuff that I liked. Well, meanwhile, I was just in a coma, and I remember really just my near death experience. So for me, it was I first found myself on a raft, and it was like a wooden kind of log raft in clouds, not on water, and there were pink clouds like underneath me, and different banks of the river represented different places. And then there was an ascended master in front of me. It was ascended master Jesus, and then there was a man to my left that was he was an adult man that was thin and bald and had long brown robes on and bare feet, and they didn't communicate with me then. I was taken, actually, it was like ascended from the raft at that point into different layers of heaven in my experience. And when you talk to other NDEers, they talk about how there are there are different levels, like an elevator will take you up to different levels of experience. So I first saw this kind of bright, light white place with pastel colored trees and water, and I heard amazing music. And then I moved out of that. I ascended from that into this place of golden light. And that was my full experience. It was like nothing I've ever experienced on earth. It was full and warm and heavy. There was a weight to the experience. It was less of a place and more of an experience of love and connection and pure, unconditional love, absolute powerful love. And I didn't have form or body. I didn't have any thought process. There was no name for it. I just remember it wrapping around me until I just became the light. And then it was after that that I was taken back to the raft and given all sorts of information and choices about whether I want to come back. And then something really mystical happens. So that's kind of my experience of the light was first and the most prevalent part.
Amazing. That sounds so beautiful.
Yeah, it was. And what came next was even more amazing. I found myself in front of Jesus, and I remember the love that he had and the connection. And he gave me a choice because he could communicate through his thoughts. And I was given the choice to stay in heaven or go back and live my life on earth. And now that I know about other near death experiences, I know why it happened this way. I wanted to stay. Like I really felt the love, like I was complete in this place, that earth was the illusion and this place was the reality. And in that moment, I wanted to stay. But then I saw the trajectory of my father's life and my brother's lives. if I were to stay. And there was no right or wrong. I could have made the choice. It really honestly did not matter. It was outside of human consciousness. Everything would have worked out. But I chose in that moment that I wanted to live. And that is when all the messages flooded to me, all the love flooded to me, the gratitude just, oh my God, it just swelled my heart. I was so thankful to get to come back and live, right? Like I realized in that moment what a gift it is to live and that we come here for a reason. Everybody comes for a reason. We all know each other for a reason. We're here for a reason. I'm here with you for a reason. Everything matters. Each other matter, and that we come here to learn. And I was flooded with all of these downloads about what it means to be alive, why we're here. And I remember making a vow in that moment because I was so overwhelmed with gratitude. I was so overwhelmed. I said, I want to give back. I want to make my life matter. I remember kind of thinking, I vow in this moment that I will heal people with music. And it was then that everything went dark and I saw music notes in the darkness and they all had different colors. I couldn't hear anything, but I could see this staff of music, the lines with all the music notes moving. And then it just went through my head. I heard a tiny pinprick of sound, and the pinprick of sound was also light. So that they were the same. It was very inaudible, but I was able to pull it into my consciousness so much that it was booming in my head at one point. And trust me, I don't want to make that lightly. It was very difficult to pull the music into my consciousness. And then all I could do to get the sound was just like open my eyes and the sound stopped. I was in the ICU and a movie had been playing at my bedside that was 90% classical music. It was Tchaikovsky music. And that is what led me to consciousness. And I remember hearing after that it was a miracle that I had lived. The only other person who had survived that type of head injury, a direct, blow to the temple, right, was another child in the state of Texas, and she was 14, and she was, confined to a wheelchair for her life. So I know how lucky I was, and my whole life from that moment has been, how do I take people to the experience of heaven? And I went into music therapy and I went to a Buddhist university. I realized at the Buddhist university that the man next to me on the left was Buddha. And so that was a full circle moment for me, because that was my lesson in how to bring heaven to earth for people through meditation, through altered states of consciousness work, through music, through bringing messages through music, through light work, through colors and sound and vibration. And that's what I do now. I bring people their heaven on earth. They get their own messages through my work. So rather than, I do have intuitive abilities and abilities where I see loved ones passed on occasion. I see light beings, I see angels, I see and hear messages for people constantly. However, it's so much more powerful when I can help them receive the message for themselves, because then it's undeniable, right? It's beautiful. And I love my work and I'm thankful to be here. And that's my story. That's my near-death experience.
That is amazing. I feel like I'm feeling some of like what what you experience as you're like transmitting it, as you're sharing.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's because you're intuitive too. And so you have that ability. And that is one of my most wonderful parts of my work, is as people are journeying, we have a dialogue. So they're deep in altered states. The music is guiding them. I'm getting messages. I'm seeing things. As they get their visions, the visions come to me, usually slightly before. So I take notes, that the grandmother is here, their mother is here. And then they'll validate it later. Or I'll get a message and write it, and then they'll ask me later for the answer, but I'll already have written it, because we get to share the experience. There is a collective consciousness.
Mhm.
Speaking of what you said in the beginning, I'm fascinated with collective consciousness, because in workshops with lots of people, there are so many shared experiences. And what is a message for one is a message for all. So people will come out of the experience and they will share that they saw, I don't know, a hummingbird, right? Which means joy. And it talks about, like, don't take life so seriously. There's a message. and they bring it to the group through their own experience. And someone else will say, well, I saw a hummingbird too, and I saw this too, or that fits for this reason. This whole idea of collective consciousness is something I really want to start studying with my work. I love it so much. It's amazing. There's
It's
something
beautiful.
greater that we can tap into.
Yes. I just
Yeah.
picture like this interwoven,
Mm.
just beautiful tapestry, and we're all connected. We're all sharing the same like neurons on a higher level. And so I love that. And something that stood out to me about your experience was that one of the questions that came up was you said that you were talking with, um, I think it was Jesus, that and you asked like what is the meaning of life, like why we're here, and I would love to hear like what you received in that moment.
Oh, well, I did have a conversation with my presence later where I did ask that question, and that answer came through in my near death experience. The downloads just landed on me, if that makes any sense. So it's like I had a knowing of so many things all at once,
Mhm.
lifetimes and lifetimes of lessons. So one of these things was that we are here to learn. And I had a download that helped me understand this a little better. We're not just here to learn for ourselves and our souls. We're also expanding the universe. And what you just said about this tapestry of vibration is a download that I had as well after my near death experience, where I saw different vibrations, large vibrations, all working together in this symphony and tapestry of energy. And when certain vibrations crossed, there was like creation, right? There was a creation of us. And these vibrations only work at this high level in source energy. But when we create, when we make music, when we, you know, make food, when we do art, when we have conversations, when we teach, when we move, when we dance, everything, all of these things, any creative process, even talking like now, we're creating smaller vibrations that larger frequencies aren't able to do. And so we're needed to create these smaller frequencies because they help to expand our existence, they help to expand our universe. And so we're in this creative energy on earth. And in addition to that, each one of us, and let me tell you, like it is a gift to be on earth. Many of us might feel like it's a challenge. Well, yes, there is contrast on earth. That is what we come here to deal with. We get to experience every feeling, love, anger, fear, delight, joy, gratitude, all of these feelings we experience in the contrast. And it's in the contrast that we get to choose, do we respond in love? And when we do, we get to communicate and co-create with source. So it's not what happens to us, but how we respond. And if we're choosing love, then we're co-creating. And that co-creation gets to raise the vibration of the planet, gets to raise our vibration, our life, our expansive, our heaven on earth starts to manifest. And so, as we're here, if we remember that, like act as if you chose this, because there are so many souls that would love to be on this planet right now because of our importance and because of what we do, that it's easy to lose sight of during the chaos of right now. It's because there's so much discord. And, it's always darkest, like before the dawn, right? And so we're dawning into this new golden age. So just know that there's absolute purpose and intention for everyone who's watching this and everyone who's not watching this, that yes, that is all here. We are here for a reason. So that's the long answer to it, but that's definitely what came to. It's just a knowing. We're meant to be here. You're
I
meant to be.
love that so much. And I think that I totally agree with you that like that sometimes we can lose sight of that, with the challenges that arise, and yet that's the beauty and that's the medicine. And when we think about the word like medicine,
Mhm.
sometimes medicine is bitter, sometimes it's sweet, and whatever it is, it's like exactly what it needs to be in the moment. And so I kind of view it as like we're on this almost like shamanic journey here on this planet, and just like connecting the earth and star vibrations and bringing that here in the heart and living here.
Yeah.
been really strong on my heart lately. That drum here.
And
Yeah.
that is where we're moving now. We're moving out of the head and into the heart as a civilization. And that needs to happen because for so long, I mean, humans are brilliant and
Mhm.
our creative capacity is amazing, beautiful, and brilliant and magnificent. And leading with the heart is the next level of experience on earth. It's the next level of expansion. And it takes us out of the division and fear that's been honestly kind of placed on us to move us into this whole different experience of each other where we can celebrate each other rather than seeing the differences and,
Right.
and work together differently.
Totally. I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me about your work with music, and I would love to hear more about that. Yeah,
Oh
tell
my
us.
gosh. I love it. I, of course, I kind of like immersed myself in music after my head injury. I played music. I performance was my undergrad. I played the flute, and I went into music therapy and transpersonal counseling psychology. So I have a dual master's in those. And what's really unique is that transpersonal psychology is very much about the spiritual realm of consciousness and unconsciousness, right? And how we are as a whole being. We're not just how we think and how we act, we're also our spiritual beliefs. And that comes into play to make us, and we see the whole person in transpersonal. Now, a transpersonal experience is when you leave the conscious mind, you even go deeper than the unconscious mind and you connect with source directly. So, my work in music, and I use music and sound in a downloaded process that's come to me over the years, where I use crystal singing bowls to enable people to move into different states of awareness in the brain, like theta brainwave states are, those states that we really can create conscious changes in our life by accessing these different brain waves. And there's interestingly the practice that I use, it kind of mirrors some studies that they've done in the government about consciousness. There's a study called the Gateway Project where they declassified it. It was like in this, I think 80s and 90s maybe, where they looked into consciousness and can we create our reality? And what they found was that certain people who learned to meditate deeply or were into Kundalini yoga or different types of awareness practices could absolutely change their lives through their conscious thoughts by the discernment of thoughts, by shifting their reality. So what I do with this is I use the crystal bowls to move people into different states of awareness in the brain using binaural beats and things like that, and using vibration and allowing people to move inward. And then I use a practice of visualization and guided imagery and music, which has kind of a cool purpose. First of all, it allows people to see the positive manifestation of what they want in their life. It allows us to move through any blocks that might be there, especially in the one-on-one sessions, which I do on Zoom and I do live. When we reach a block, we communicate with it. What is it trying to tell you? Like, what is this block in the human body that you're holding that's keeping you from your intention? And then people are usually lifted into the angelic realm. They're lifted in to meet with a guide, an ascended master, sometimes a loved one passed who's there with a message for them. Animal guides, even higher versions of themselves will come through to tell them, well, here's what you need to know. And it's always an experience of like, you are loved. Everything's okay. Let go of control, surrender, trust, allow your presence to move through your human form to live. And what's really cool about that for me is that I get to witness it, and it's the most beautiful thing. At the same time, I receive messages through music. That is my channel, my connection to source and sound and light and color. And so I'm getting messages at the same time that help clarify and bring them closer to their presence. So my whole sessions, whether it's a workshop, I'll receive messages that connect to the greater collective energy or to each individual person. Sometimes in workshops, it's a little difficult because I have, a large group of people, and their guides and light beings will come through in a way where one of them wants them to go up the staircase. One of them wants them to find a book. One of them wants them to ascend to meet with their presence. Another might want them to go to a mountaintop or into the ocean. What's cool though is that as people are journeying, they're in a state where they connect to what I'm saying if it's meant for them. One time I had a session where I I brought in the light and it just wanted to go to the liver. And so I spent 5 minutes like clearing the liver. That had never happened in a workshop before. And when I went around at the end and I said, hey, like this was a weird thing, but I just want to acknowledge that there was some liver cleansing that was happening. A woman, she raised her hand and started crying, and she said, I had a liver transplant a couple of years ago, and I feel like I'm holding the sadness of the donor, and I came here today to clear that. So her intention brought that through. Others received the benefit of that for themselves, like whatever they were meant to have. And yet hers was very specific. So that kind of thing happens all the time. And what's beautiful is that people can connect with whatever connects with them. And for people that want more one-on-one work and more deep work for themselves and to really manifest what they want to create in their lives, or go into deeper conversations with the divine, that's a one-on-one. And then but it's just the coolest work. And music is it's my connection, right? It's my connection. Like this weekend, I did a journey. I led a journey where I had my Larimar tourmaline crystal bowl. It's blue. It's handheld, and I held it over a man who was attending, rang the bowl, and then was able to kind of pull the energy down into his body from his presence. And he said that he felt like he, disconnected from his ego and could completely go to the other side and get the information he wanted. And he came back and felt like reborn. And in reality, that's what I love. I want people to feel heaven and that light the way I felt it. So I love my work and I love it so much. And I talk about how I created this process over intuitive and mystical experiences that happened to me, starting at my near death experience, all the way up, through this is how you can enhance your intuition. I've got a book coming out in 2 weeks called Waking Up in Heaven, that helps people do just that, like a teaching memoir where they can learn, this is how I did it, and this is how I honed my intuitive skills. These are the practices that I did, and people can learn for themselves.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. That's so exciting.
It is. It's so exciting. It's very exciting. I'm very excited for this book to come out. It's been a labor of love. I did not ever think I would be an author or write anything,
Mhm.
but I gave a session to a pretty well-known author named Jack Canfield. He wrote like, Chicken Soup for the Soul stuff.
Oh,
Um, I gave him a session with some people who are close with him, and he got to know my work and wrote about it, and then got to know my story a little bit, and then he started mentoring me, and he challenged me to write 80 pages, and so I did it. I wrote 80 pages and then some, but yeah, so I'm really proud of this because it's something I never thought that I would ever do.
that's
Under
amazing.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write those 80 plus pages?
It took me too long. I was focused on, my business and meeting with clients and things. So he mentored me for about a year and a half. And
Nice.
then I kind of let it sit for a while. So it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, and things keep changing and I keep getting more and more downloads, and was going to be including the downloads in the book, but then decided to make it a memoir so people can learn for themselves how to develop these skills, like a teaching memoir. And then I'll do a follow-up book about these downloads that I get. Like I told you about the one about the vibrations. Well, there was another one about light magnetization, if you want to hear.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's really powerful for right now. I'll
Mhm.
pull it up here. So basically the idea is, let me pull it up. So basically, this concept that was downloaded to me, where we as humans, we move across the earth, and as we connect with different places and different people that have been to different places, we're bringing different kind of light codes and energy into our body. And so we can also get that from where we live. Like we can pull light from that into our soul experience. And so the idea was that we are being given the gift that we can now recollect our light that we may have left behind in other lives or in experiences in our lives that pulled light from us, or we knowingly or unknowingly gave our light away. So what we have now is this skill that's kind of been unlocked, where if you have over 50% of light of your light body, meaning you're choosing love over fear, you're able to discern your thoughts and release negative thoughts and stay at a high vibration, like through meditation or using oils or music or singing or creative process, then you can start to magnetize all of your light back to you from different times, from different lives, from different worlds, right? Back to the creation of time. So this idea is that it's a skill that we can retrieve our light bodies while we're here. Skills of the energetic way. The more you enhance your frequency in your energetic body, the more you work with others in your own light body, the more you increase this ability to magnetize your light back. And the more you grow your magnetic field, through this light process, you can attract more light into your life, more heaven on earth, retrieving parts of your light that had not been found. The more you attract, the more you bring heaven to earth moments to take you to other places to receive more light. And they say, activate this through joy, through gratitude, through meditation, through energy work, through sound, light, colors, music, creative process. It's just an upward cycle, because in reality, our light, our full light, fully and completely bringing our light into this world is what is needed. We're being asked, like, let's step in. We're in this world, pull back all those parts of you, create that magnetizing energy so you can pull it back. Magnets can repel negative and they call in the good. So that download was really powerful for me. It came to me before we held one of our retreats in Mount Shasta, and it's just something I work with all the time. I lead people through experiences of like closing and completing off old versions of themselves by seeing little fires, closing them off, and then pulling the light in. And that's usually when the angels or light beings come to surround them and lift them up, and people feel like they're in the arms of the angels at that moment, right? So it's like, yay,
I
bring
love that. I instantly hear the song in the
yeah,
arms of
yeah,
the
exactly.
angels. I love that.
Yeah, so
That's
good.
great
Yeah.
and so necessary and so needed. Um, really beautiful.
Definitely needed right now.
Hmm. And I feel like the another way to just magnify and really pull in our light and embody, our light, is to just continually, no matter what happens, just accept what is arising, and just
Mhm.
continuing to just
Yeah.
surrender to that flow and also step into our weird selves,
Yeah.
and like fully embrace the weird. That's been like the download for me lately, is like embrace your weird, embrace what makes you unique, and like live your life in full color is another thing that's been coming through. And I love that synchronicity with the music and um, the light and the vibration and the color. It's like all
Yeah.
interconnected, all expressions of the same consciousness, in different ways. And
Definitely.
um, I love that so much, and I love the invitation there to really step into our hearts and to feel ourselves, to fully like embrace
Yeah.
all the weirdness that is the goodness. All
Yeah.
of it is good, and it's weird, and it's awesome.
We all have our ways of accessing that. And what you're saying is so true, because there was a study that I heard about recently, where they studied the frequency that humans can read from other humans. We all have this intuitive ability, but I think it's more that we read frequency from people. And you would think that the emotion or the feeling or the energy that we could read most easily would be love, right? But they actually found that it's authenticity. that we as humans have the ability to gauge and read authenticity more than any other energy. And that is powerful, right? Because so many people are afraid to be authentic because they might feel like they're strange or weird. I certainly felt that way for a long time. You know, my near death experience wasn't the white tunnel light like most people had. It was very different. And, you know, people would say, oh, you were in a coma, it was a dream, but it was the most real thing that I experienced. And so, if we acknowledge to ourselves that what we experience is reality and that our unique gifts are beautiful for the world, then we can stand more in authenticity and people feel that. And it's a comforting place to be. First of all, to be able to stand in your authenticity and say, this is who I am. This is who I am. And I was made this way. And these are my experiences. And this is who I am in the world. Just to feel that and be accepted for that is
Mhm.
beautiful feeling. So I think one thing that's also happening now is that as people expand consciousness and step more into their reality of who they are and their authentic path, they're attracting people who appreciate that. And the people who don't appreciate that start to slowly move out of our lives. And that is a gift because it allows us to live in a different world that we were in. Imagine being surrounded by people who support you and love you as you are, and you can consciously create that in your life. Think about how different your life would be. And it doesn't even mean that you have to, you know, disconnect in a way that's unkind. It's just start surrounding yourself with those people that really see you. That authenticity is so powerful, especially on a spiritual journey. And so what you said, like
Mhm.
embrace it, live it, be who you
Mhm.
are. That's what we came here to
Mm.
do anyway.
Yeah. There's this really famous like music producer I was listening to him talk on different interviews lately, and he's a very like Zen focused person, very into meditating. His name is Rick Rubin, and he talks about how like we're all creative and we're all expressive in different ways, and everything is a creative action, everything is a creative thing. And he talks about the act of creativity is a form of worship, worship of
Mm-hmm.
the divine, connection to the divine, and that when we make something, when we're in that creative zone, when we are enmeshed in that creative flow, um, and we're making something that's genuinely from our own heart to ourselves, like we're making something not because we want to please a crowd or an audience, but we're making something, or we're expressing ourselves in whatever way feels good.
Yeah.
um, that is the most pure form of worship and connection with God, with source, with all that is, with all the things, all that is. When we do it from that center of just, I'm going to give it my all, and I'm just going to do it because this is what I love, this is what is flowing through me, this is what wants to be birthed, and you're just doing it just because that's what feels good, that is the most pure form of connection with the divine. And that's been really resonating with me lately, like that energy of, we're all artists, we're all creatives, and we all express creativity in different ways. And um, it doesn't have to look a certain way in order to call ourselves an artist or a creative. It's all creative. The creative action is the life experience. And it goes in sync with what you're talking about earlier, that like the meaning of life, or the reason we're here, is that we're constantly expanding all of creation. And when we think about creation, that word, it's like it's all encompassing, it's never ending. And I love that so much.
Mm-hmm. And that creative energy is a gift. And I love it. And I love that we're talking so much about this today because wouldn't it be boring if we all did the same thing? Like that's what makes a process beautiful is that it's evolving, that it's different. And people love that. And I think that's why I'm so proud of my work too, because it's fluid and there are things that come in and out of it that, the crystal bowls came in through a download. And then, of course, music, the Bonnie method of guided imagery music that I use, it's a creative process of unconscious exploration. It's an altered state of consciousness thing that stimulates parts of the brain the way plant medicine does. And the school I went to was a leading school for plant medicine in the world, actually, but we use music as a way to access that as well. When you think about the creative process and how it's all different, bringing different things about you together that you love to create something new for the world, I mean, that's been my whole life. And I think everyone should do that, the freedom of that. So I bring in the bowls, bring in Bonnie method of guided imagery and music. I love essential oils. Like they raise our frequency. There are certain oils that can move into through the neuron into the amygdala. I'm fascinated with brain science. So that brings in that. I like toning and vocalizing. I like chanting, all of these things that we can bring through. And then breath work. Breath work was a huge part of my training at Naropa, and now my partner does breath work while I do the bowls, and we have this kind of yin and yang kind of energy with the receptive and the projector energy with the breath work bringing us like out of the head and the somatic psychology, all the things that can be brought through in these different ways to make us unique. I mean, think about the unlimited way that we could help people. Like someone could be an art therapist and they could bring in their art. I know people who use singing bowls with art, and they also work in the realm of color and light and sound like I do, but they bring it in a whole different way. They channel through their art and they help other people do that too. So yes, creative process, beautiful, magical.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
love all that. Yeah, we're like going off of what you were just saying about like um we all have our own different styles, our own different combination of frequencies, energies, vibrations, and we're all needed and we're all part of the tapestry. We all have our place, our little spot on the tapestry.
Yeah.
And we're who we are for a reason, and that should be celebrated. Going back to, the beginning when we are talking about that, like celebrating
Yeah.
our uniqueness and embracing that.
Yeah,
Totally.
there will come a day, and I know this. I know this in my soul. And I don't know if I'll live to see it or if it's going to be, in my lifetime, which I hope it is. There will come a day where we celebrate each other so much and we value the gifts in each other so much that we unlock parts of the brain we haven't even used yet. We will be able, I believe we'll be able to heal through our minds. I mean, we already see that in people that can heal themselves through different practices of altered states of consciousness and awareness. But I think that we'll be able to communicate with each other through our minds. We're going to be accessing a new level of being and existing when we truly embrace the gifts of each other rather than seeing it as this kind of shame-based divisive culture that we have grown up in. And many people even feel now like they don't feel like they fit on the earth, that they don't know their place in it because it feels so foreign. And I write about this a little in the book. It's not the earth, it's the system. It's the system that we've been conditioned to live in that's outside of our natural way of being and our free will and our celebration of each other. So for those people that feel that way, I always say go back into nature and find just a connection in nature through water or trees and stay there for a while, and you'll find that you do realize you fit on this earth. You do have a place. It's just the system that doesn't feel good anymore.
Right.
And once we can rise above the system and really be in who we're meant to be, then our new golden age will begin. Really, really. It's already beginning, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We'll be able to transcend the human things we're going through now.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, good
Makes
work.
me wiggly. The wiggles.
World, good world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man,
It resonates, right? You can
it
tell
does.
because
Mm,
you can feel it. You can feel the truth when you hear it. You can, that's how you know. It's just, keeping that belief and having faith and then surrendering to your presence that it will all work out. It is all happening as it should be. Even this was meant to happen this way so that we could wake up.
that's very true.
Yeah.
And hmm, yeah, like life is a shamanic journey. That was something that was coming through earlier
Oh
for me.
yeah, I did say that.
And like a shamanic journey is a journey through all of it, and embracing the uncomfortable. And I know that's easy to say, but and in the moment it can be challenging for sure. And
It can be.
and yeah, kind of going back to that idea of like, sometimes what is best on a higher level from that perspective, looking down at our physical experience, like sometimes that bitter medicine is the thing to kind of wake up the system, and get some things moving that need to be moved. And we can't always, um, we don't always perceive from that level looking down, but trusting and surrendering, like we were talking about earlier, and knowing that it's there for a reason. It's here to serve, and it hurts sometimes, and it's challenging sometimes, and but it's all here to strengthen character and to move us forward in a new way. And I love that we have that opportunity, and that's one of the many blessings of our life here on earth, and the transformation that we get to experience, which is really magical.
Yeah.
And I love that word.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. Especially think about this last full moon, right? I mean, this is the first micro moon of the year, happened in February, 2024. And this moon brought up so many contrasting experiences for so many people. And there's a lot going on with, the resonance of the planet too, rising and rising more and more. People are talking more about solar flares and how they raise our frequency, and the kind of flares and like moments of peaks of this energy and then valleys of the energy. But many of my clients came to me because this last week was so difficult in the contrast. And even for myself, I went through an experience of, all I could do was say affirmations to myself. When you're in the discord, when you're in the discomfort, sometimes it feels overwhelming, right? So for me, I always go back to, if I can't say something nice, even to myself, I need to replace those thoughts. I choose to replace those thoughts with something positive. So I, sat in a bathtub the other day for an hour, just saying positive affirmations to myself over and over until I can flip out of that narrative that likes to come through when we're in the discomfort. Because
Mm,
I think that this discernment of thoughts in this time when sitting in the discomfort is our most powerful tool, because our human mind creates our reality. What we think we experience, what we think becomes reality. So even when you're in those dark moments of discomfort, if you can replace your thoughts, even if it's like saying the same thing over and over, I just say, I am that I am. I am love, I am light, I am, I am, I am. And then prayer, the power of prayer, because in order to access that source energy and have that love come through and help us, we do need to ask for it. It's something that we need to call in of our own free will, that will not come to us unless we ask. So through prayer and then the positive affirmation, And then, the use of the tools that we have around us in nature, like water. Water holds energy. Water can be transformative. It can hold love. It can be a portal to a greater existence, right? It can, and then oils, the frequency of nature, plants, all of these things, music, anything that allows us to get into that space of leaving the conscious mind and staying in positivity is going to get us through those moments of discomfort, and allowing ourselves to feel it, like feel it. Don't bypass it. Yeah, it's sad. Cry, allow yourself to cry. Maybe give yourself a few moments to get it out and even cry through, and then start to bring in, like, let's replace those thoughts. Cancel, cancel, delete, delete. Send out the old ones, bring in the new thoughts, and like buffer yourself with like conscious language protective bubble where you're, even if you don't believe it, you're speaking some love over your experience once you get it out. And you're right, the sitting in the discomfort, that's the shadow. And many people don't want to look at the shadow because they think in some way it's dark or bad, but the shadow holds our golden light. It holds our most valuable and precious energy. And the shadow goes there to protect us, to protect that part of us. So, in going through the shadow and allowing it to exist, allowing it to feel discomfort, being honest with ourselves about our experience, and then bringing love to ourselves, then we
Mhm.
get to see, well, what's that golden gift underneath? What was I hiding from myself that actually could be my super skill, my superpower, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. I love the Rumi quote, the wound is where the light enters you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the Brene Brown quote that grief shines a light on our greatest vulnerabilities. Right?
Mm.
That when we see our greatest vulnerability through the process of grief or loss or discord or discomfort, we can actually like acknowledge the vulnerability and see the gift in it. I
Mhm.
love, oh, so good.
So good. So good.
Me is amazing.
Yeah. And I feel like archetypes are really um, something I've been very exploring lately,
Mhm.
and I feel like with this idea that we're exploring with like the shadow and moving through the discomfort, some
Mhm.
like important archetypes I've noticed are one is the explorer archetype, so getting curious,
Yeah.
being willing to venture into the unknown and get curious
Yeah.
about why this is here, why this is coming up, and two, the courageous one, the hero, uh,
Warrior. Yeah.
the leader archetype with feeling being brave and courageous enough to say, I accept this part of me. I accept the shadow. I accept the animus, like the I accept what this is, and it's not always a mental accept, but a emotional accept first. Like
Yeah.
I accept what is arising, and I feel like that's really important because that shield comes up and wants to block, wants to not feel, not be vulnerable. And
Mhm.
yet, when we put our hand on the shield and we say, okay, that's when it dissolves and it comes home because you've just simply accepted what is. And that's when it moves as
Yeah.
well. And that's when the
Yeah.
tears come and the feelings come. And that's good
Mhm.
because otherwise we're carrying around these suitcases of baggage is not the right word because it puts a negative connotation, but just like,
Yeah.
yeah, just we don't want to walk around heavy laden, but we want to allow ourselves to feel what we feel and to let it move, and to vocalize. And I feel like for us women in particular, and um, like there's this courage that we need to have to vocalize what we're feeling and to let that come out. And I feel like for me in my life, that's been a theme. And I know many other women who feel that way. And so I feel like, yeah, embracing the explorer archetype, embracing the courageous one archetype is just really important to help some of these emotions move. And when we heal ourselves, we are healing the collective as we do this. So it's really powerful work that we've all come here to do, and it's amazing.
I love archetype work and Jungian theory, and also even there's a book called No Bad Parts, which is by Richard Schwartz, and his work in internal family systems is also kind of cool with it's it's um it's the inner archetype, how we have the manager, we have the firefighter that tries to put out the fire when something happens.
Mm.
All parts of our personality that come through and have purpose, that usually come out of trauma, right? That come forward, but we don't want them to necessarily, or we want to be our whole authentic self rather than letting that archetype or that part of us lead in all parts of the life. The manager might thrive in one part of life, but not in another. And we don't need our inner child to always be running the show, right? Or the different
Yes.
part. And I think it's also interesting the way you talk about that, how the different parts work together. So, like for instance, we have our warrior energy and maybe our king or queen. So with the king or queen could be the good king that gets, that talks with the people and understands what they want. Or it could be the king that locks himself up in a tower and tells everybody what to do. And if they don't, then he works with the warrior and says off with their head, right? But if the warrior is a healthy warrior rather than like blindly following the king archetype or the queen archetype, the warrior would also be down with the people and like understand that and go about in a more non-threatening way of like
Mhm.
creating order within the system or personality. All of these things are fascinating and wonderful to think about. So, as we move through, we get to choose like what is it that we hold on to for our journey that helps us understand our own personality better. It's about knowing thyself, right? How
Mhm.
well can we know ourselves so that when we get into the shadow places, we know exactly how to handle that part, and that no shame in that part. That part exists for a reason, it has a purpose,
Mhm.
and historically it's done great things. Let's rewrite the script for this part and let it shine in a different way. It's fascinating. All the psychology of it is just the best. the best the best. I love that, what you said about archetypes. Love that.
Mhm. Thanks. Hmm. Um, is there anything like anything you want to say as a like to help us come to a close, like with anything we've talked about or haven't talked about? Any
Yeah.
fun?
Can I grab a bowl?
Yeah, yeah,
um I have to turn on original sound for musicians for this.
perfect idea.
Hold on. Okay. All right. I don't know if it's going to show up here. Okay. So I'll just do a quick little imagery thing. So it's interesting. It's like, so imagine that perfect version of you just above the top of your head, shining down on you with the most loving adoration. Feel and see a golden light shining down from the heart of your own presence, that perfect version of you that is completely connected to Source. Feel that light shining down on the top of your head and hold your closed eye gaze looking at the back of your third eye. Feel the energy intensify. Invite the love of your own presence, that God energy, to flow into the top of the head. Feel it pulling out old thoughts and replacing base of the neck, softening the tongue as you swallow down this liquid light presence. Feel it flowing into the back of the spine, into the spinal cord, up and down the spinal cord, flowing deeply into the heart, the soft expansion of the heart as this light starts to pulse effortlessly through the body, rhythmically, beautifully. See a golden light within your heart expanding as it receives this light of God that never fails. Feel that light expanding more and more beyond your body, above the roof line, above the tree line, above the mountaintops. As above, so below. See that energy expanding into the universe, above the earth, and into the crystalline center of the earth. See the light moving down into the body, top of the abdomen. See your body filling with so much light that it pushes out impurities. Moves into the belly button area. Feel the fullness at the base of the spine in the pelvic floor. Feel the energy flowing now more and more down into the soles of the feet, out through the soles of the feet, deeper into the center of the earth. And watch as the earth receives anything that no longer serves you. Release it into the light. See the light received by this beautiful energy and vibration of the earth. And witness as the earth sends it directly back up to your presence, that perfect version of you, that God presence above you. Watch the light become requalified and sent back into your life stream, bridging heaven and earth. See yourself living in your heaven. Notice how good it would feel in that perfect version of you, moving deeper and deeper into the cells of the body, lighting up every cell. Invite the liquid energy in your body, brain fluid, spinal fluid, blood, life stream, nerve fluid. Invite all of this liquid energy to become liquid light, holding the essence of pure light and love. Take a deep breath and know that you are better for this. And so it is.
That was wonderful.
Good. It was very nice. Just wanted to do that quick little download of light. And I would just say, if I were to close the experience, it would be to encourage everyone to know that the answers they seek are always within them. And it's not necessary to seek them from something or someone outside of themselves. Then when we have that moment to connect with our presence, our God presence, that light that's always available to us, we can receive all the wisdom that we need for healing, for manifestation, for love. And my advice would be to find any process that connects with you where you can move into that higher version of yourself and bring it into your human body so that you trust more and surrender more and love more and have a knowing that everything is meant to be.
Thank you so much for that. So beautiful. And thank you for being here today and for talking with me about you and your experiences and just your medicine that you bring to the planet. Thank you for shining your light.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. This was really nice. I love your energy, very grounded and soft and very intuitive. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very gifted. You're a very gifted human.
Thank you very much. So are you.
Thank you.
And we'll have all of Ellen's links below. So if you would like to connect with her, get her book, watch her documentary she's in, book a session, it's all in here.
Oh,
So
it's on my website. I also have a meditation group where I do angel messages every Wednesday. It's a 30-minute meditation. and people can listen to it later where they go to sleep. Most people do, but I go live at 9 every Wednesday and share messages for the world about what's going on and how people can access their light. And we have different types of visualization using all of my bowls. And it's a donation based group, so you can choose your donation too. It's run through Facebook, so it's called Your Sacred Space. And my website is called Wellness Music Therapy. That's my business and my website. The documentary that I was featured in is called Beyond the Grave. It's out on any streaming service, and I just share a little bit of my story in that. And my book is called Waking Up in Heaven. And I would love to see new faces and energies. I mean, again, it's a collective consciousness that we're building, all light, all love, all supportive. And in the meditation group, I get to share individual messages as they come through when people share what came through in their meditations, like below the video. So that's kind of a nice way for me to get to know people. I also have a YouTube channel. Um, and my last name is Ellen Wier, Wier. So that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Namaste.